Hey everyone, sorry I couldn't make it tonight, but thanks for letting me still give my presentation on how to prepare for a test properly. So, next. So, the first step is to plan ahead of time. So, this is super important because you can't study properly if you don't kind of have a plan set out, and when you're doing it, it's super important that you actually have something to do this because it lets you maximize your time. Next, know the date of your test. This is super important if you want to be successful because if you don't know the date, you're not going to be able to make like a good plan, and then you're not knowing the date helps you maximize how much studying you're going to be doing, and so you can study to your best ability. Next, list your materials. So listing your materials includes like study guides, worksheets, PowerPoints, textbooks, in-class notes, so like that sort of materials, but there's also the other ones of like teachers and TAs and study groups, and letting you know what all your materials are lets you maximize the best way of using them. Next, make a schedule. So when you do this, you want to divide out like what all your materials are and figure out how you want to do this. So when you make your schedule, you should include things like office hours and study sessions and when you'd like to meet with your study groups. But also like figure out how you want to do materials. So maybe you do all your PowerPoints on one day, your worksheets on another, or let's say there's 6 days left till the test, and you need you have 6 days left, and you like did like 4 chapters or whatever. So maybe the first day you do the first chapter, the second chapter, and so on, and then the last 2 days you do like a general review. Next, so how to study. The way that you study really changes like how you're going to prepare. So next, the key is to start broad. So if you are starting broad really helps because it helps you see how the things connect a lot better and gives you like a general overview, which is like super helpful. Next, so when you go broad, then you have to go specific, and you have to go. So the benefit of starting off broad and then going specific is a lot of times like the difficult questions on tests are the ones that make you connect things that you talked about in class. And so by starting broad, you're able to see how they connect, and then when you go specific, you're able to get the details. So it lets you get like the specific questions on a concept and how they connect to each other. And going specific sometimes is necessary on those connecting ones. Next, ideas of ways to study. So everyone has their own way, and like these are just some suggestions of like things that I like to do. So yeah, next, make your own study guide. Personally, this is what I love to do. I do a general outline, and then I go in and fill in the details. And so like doing that helps me study, and then I have the benefit of like I now have a study guide that I can look over and help me review and stuff. And it really helps you see like kind of the holes that you may have. Because I always try and fill them out on my own, like off my knowledge, and then I go back and like check with books and like fill in more information. So next, flashcards. Flashcards are really similar to making your own study guide in the fact that like in making it helps you study, and then like later you're able to use them to study as well. Flashcards are super helpful though because when you like write things out, it helps connect pathways in your brain and helps you remember it better, which like most of the time if you're doing flashcards, you're trying to like memorize stuff. So next, teaching it to others. So this is super helpful for 2 different reasons. One, like talking out loud uses another one of your senses, and like when you use different senses, it creates more pathways that lead to the same idea. And when that happens, it makes it easier for you to recall it. And then also, like if you're teaching it to someone in your class, like it helps them out. But like let's say you have a concept wrong, they might be able to correct you, which would be super helpful because you didn't realize you had it wrong and now you know. Next, draw pictures or diagrams. So as I was saying with that, how it like makes connections. So drawing pictures or diagrams helps make more connections in your brain, and so it makes it easier to recall. And also like a lot of times like it might help you visualize it. So, like if you draw out how like things connect, like you might be able to kind of like visualize, oh, like this leads to that leads to this, and it'll help you memorize it. Next, take the practice exam. I always take the practice exam with like a couple days left, because you take it the night before and you figure out you have holes, you're not really going to have time to like properly fill them without just like straight cramming. Some people like to take them as the very first step in their studying. Personally, I like to study a little bit and then do that, but it's whatever you like. Next. So you've done all you can. It's the day of the test. You hit a point where like you've studied so much that like honestly what you don't know, and that's just kind of matter of fact. So this are like the little things that you can do that kind of help you with remembering. So next, get a good night's rest. This is super, super, super important, because as my mom always says, there's a point where like your need for sleep outweighs your need for studying. And so here's like a little analogy. So when you're studying, it's like you're putting all these papers on a big desk, and then when you go to sleep, that's when your brain processes what you're doing. And so it's like there's a little secretary in there, and she takes everything on the desk and starts filing it away. And like the more you sleep and like get a good night's rest, she's able to file it all away. And so you're able to recall the information a lot better. But if you don't get a good night's sleep, it's just going to stay on the desk. And so maybe she'll get like halfway done with it, but then that other half, you're like trying to like randomly sort through this huge pile on a desk and figure out what information you need. So basically, good night's rest helps you recall your stuff a lot easier. Plus, it makes you so you're not tired on the test and like misreading stuff or like falling asleep on a test, which I think like most of us have done. So yeah, good night's sleep is really important. Next, eat before the test. So this kind of does two things. First off, it like makes it so like you're not going to be like just thinking about that on the test. So if you're like hungry, like that might be all you're thinking about and you're not able to focus very well. It also fuels your brain, which like can help you. And then if you do something like you have a specific snack before each time you study for a certain test, like if you eat that snack, like it might help you, as we talked about in like our memorizing section, like it can help you recall the information. So for me, like I eat a lot of mints when I'm studying, and so when I take tests, like I'll still eat the mints, and it might help, might not, I don't know. I like it. Anyways, next. Go to the bathroom. Super, super, super important, because if you're on a roll, the last thing you want to do is ruin your momentum and have to go to the bathroom. But also don't be afraid to go to the bathroom. If you're in the test and you like are like really struggling or you're just feeling worn out, like going to the bathroom is a good way to get a break and like have a little bit of like you time and like still be successful. Next, have all your needed materials ready. So if you're going to the testing center and like have your ID, have your calculator if you need one, or your scratch paper and all your pencils ready. So when you get to the testing center, all you have to do is like, instead of like having to dig through your backpack, like you can just hand over your ID card and like get your test, and then you can like walk to your spot, and like you can easily have your paper stamped and your note card if you have one, and then you just walk to your spot and you can like sit down and like kind of figure out, like get a little settled, but you're not having to like dig through your backpack or do that whole frantic search, which is super like nice and like kind of keeps you calm if you're not doing that. Next, have ample time to take the test. So if your teacher says the test is probably going to take you an hour, don't only give yourself an hour. You never know if you're going to need more time. Maybe you didn't get that good night's sleep, and so now you're tired, and so it's going to take you longer. So just like don't push it. If you have like a specific time you have to be done with something, like, and you have like a different day you can take it, just take it on the different day so you're not like rushing through things. Next, find a good seat. This is super important. So maybe not for stuff like a Book of Mormon test that's going to take you like 10 minutes, but for like a big, long like test that's going to take you like 2-3 hours maybe, like having a good seat is super important. So find somewhere where you can concentrate and like you feel relaxed. So like for me, I like to go down all the way where there's like not as much people, and I sit in the desk without anyone, like without the rest on the side, so I can kind of like spread out. And like I know and I like to go in the middle of the row. So like that's what I like to do. But like if you find somewhere that you like to sit, like figure that out and just test it out until you find somewhere. Next. So thank you for letting me give my presentation on how to prepare for a test properly. I hope it's helpful, and I hope you guys have a good holidays. Thanks. Bye.